In this episode of Defining Diabetes, Jenny Smith and I are going to define extended bolus. Defining Diabetes is made possible by Dexcom, Omnipod, and Dancing for Diabetes. Please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise, and to always consult a physician before becoming bold with insulin or making any changes to your medical plan. Extended bolus.
Ooh, extended bolus. That's a very good one because, first of all, a lot of people don't realize how this extended bolus works in a pump. So extended bolus refers specifically to pumping, right? In an insulin pump, you have the option. If you're still on an animus pump, you had something called the combo bolus. If you have a Medtronic pump, you have dual bolus and square bolus. If you have Omnipod, it's extended bolus. If you have tandem pump, it's extended bolus as well. They all call it something different. They all essentially work the same exact way. Extended bolus allows you to take a bolus and extend all or a portion of it out over a designated time period. So let's say, for good example, I like the terms that Medtronic came up with, honestly, the dual and the square wave bolus. Because you can do them on all the pumps, even though they're not called that in all the pumps. A dual wave bolus means that you're going to give, let's say your pump recommends 2 units right now for what you said you were going to eat. If you choose a dual wave bolus, the pump will ask you, how much of this bolus do you want to give right now as an upfront amount, like a normal bolus that you'd get? Let's say you say 50%. Okay, your pump is going to give you 1 unit right now. Mm-hmm. The next screen that comes up, how long do you want to deliver the other 50% over? In this case, 1 unit. Do you want it over half hour? Do you want it over 3 hours? Do you want it over 4 hours, 8 hours? What do you want? At that point, the pump will start a drip, 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 drip of that 1 unit bolus out over the course of time you told it to deliver it out over. It doesn't wait until the end. Let's say you said 2 hours. It doesn't wait until you get to 2 hours and then it delivers a 1 unit bolus. That is not how extended works in any of the pumps. It is a drip, drip, almost like a secondary basal, kind of, if you think about it. Drip, 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 drip out over the time period you said. And again, the other bolus is the square wave in Medtronic. You can do it the same way in the other pumps. Square wave means you give no normal bolus right now. And you say 0%. Right now. The next screen will say, well, how long do you want to deliver this 2 units over? You say 2 hours, it will drip, 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 drip the whole bolus in over a 2-hour time period. That's extended bolus.
I will sometimes cheat on a pre-bolus if Arden's blood sugar is not stable enough to hold it. So like say Arden's 20 minutes away from eating lunch, and this is when we get a chance to pre-bolus while she's at school, but her blood sugar is, 75. Then we'll do a 0% now and the rest over a half an hour so that it starts dripping right away. But by the time she sits down and eats, about 2/3 of it is in, probably none of it's active. It just starts becoming active as she starts to eat, and the rest of it's in by then too and coming online. It's a brilliant way to manipulate insulin. And in the end, a lot of what we talk about here is ways to make the insulin do what you want it to do, but more importantly, when you want it to do it. So extending, dual wave, square, these are all ways of stretching out your insulin boluses. Defining Diabetes on the Juicebox Podcast is brought to you by Dexcom, Omnipod, and Dancing for Diabetes. There are links in the show notes and at juiceboxpodcast.com to all the wonderful sponsors. But if you want to find out more about getting a free, no-obligation demo of the Omnipod, you can go to myomnipod.com/juicebox. To get started on the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor, dexcom.com/juicebox. And to learn about the good that's being done at Dancing for Diabetes, go to dancing4diabetes.com. Thanks for checking out Defining Diabetes. Come back every Friday as Jenny and I break down a new word or phrase that is impacting your life with type 1 diabetes. Those of you on social media can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And of course, the podcast is available in every podcast player you can imagine and at juiceboxpodcast.com. Please consider sharing the show with a friend. Okay, guys, I finally did it. It took me a while to find a company that had merchandise that I thought was quality, and it took me a while to find a design that I really liked, but we have redesigned the Juicebox Podcast logo. There's new fonts. I've got your favorite sayings like be bold, bold with insulin, stop the arrows, and there's more coming. Head over to juiceboxpodcast.com to check it all out.